First story. My ex cheated with her trainer, left me for him, and now she's begging to reunite after he betrayed her too. The unexpected turn that changed everything. Life has a way of throwing you into situations you never imagined, and right now, I'm caught in one of those moments. I'm 28 years old, and about a year ago, I thought I had everything figured out. A solid relationship, future plans, the works. But things fell apart in ways I couldn't have predicted, and now I'm questioning whether to reopen a chapter of my life that nearly destroyed me. A little over a year ago, I was in a serious relationship with a woman I'll call Emily. She's 27, and we'd been together for 3 years. Those 3 years felt steady and full of promise. We had talked about moving in together, and while marriage wasn't something we were planning immediately, it was definitely on the horizon, or so I believed. Around that time, I had started taking fitness more seriously. I joined a gym and hired a personal trainer, whom I'll call Ryan, to help me stay consistent. Ryan was one of those guys who had a magnetic personality, friendly, confident, and the kind of guy who could charm just about anyone. It seemed harmless to introduce Emily to him since she had been mentioning wanting to get into fitness as well. The two of them hit it off right away, but I didn't think much of it at the time. Ryan was her trainer, and I trusted her completely. At first, everything seemed normal. Emily seemed excited about her new fitness journey, and I was happy to see her so motivated. But slowly things started to change. She began coming home later and later after the gym, always with vague excuses about running errands or meeting up with friends. Her phone, which used to sit out in the open, was suddenly always face down or on Do Not Disturb mode. I tried to brush off my growing unease, convincing myself I was overthinking. But deep down, something didn't feel right. When I brought it up to Emily, she accused me of being controlling and paranoid. I didn't want to be that guy, so I let it go, trying to trust her despite the red flags. Until I couldn't anymore. One evening, Emily left her phone on the kitchen counter while she went to take a shower. A notification lit up the screen. It was a text from Ryan. My stomach dropped. I hesitated for a moment, telling myself I should respect her privacy, but curiosity and suspicion got the better of me. I opened the messages, and what I saw confirmed my worst fears. The texts weren't about workouts or fitness tips. They were explicit, leaving no room for misinterpretation. When Emily came out of the shower, I confronted her immediately. At first, she tried to deny it, but when she realized there was no way out, she broke down and admitted everything. She confessed that she had been seeing Ryan behind my back for months. Her explanation? She claimed she had fallen in love with him and that it wasn't about me. It was something she couldn't control. Hearing her say those words felt like a knife to the chest. This was the woman I had planned a future with, someone I trusted with everything. Within a week, she packed her things and moved in with Ryan. Just like that, 3 years of my life were shattered. The months that followed were some of the hardest of my life. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. I questioned everything, my judgment, my self-worth, and whether I'd ever be able to trust again. I threw myself into therapy, doubled down on my fitness journey, and leaned heavily on my friends. Slowly but surely, I began to piece myself back together. The pain didn't go away entirely, but I reached a point where I could think about Emily without feeling like I was drowning. And then, out of nowhere, she came back. Just a few days ago, I got a text from an unknown number. The message? "Hey, it's Emily. Can we talk?" At first, I ignored it. But the curiosity, and if I'm honest, a bit of unresolved anger got the better of me. I replied, and what she said has been stuck in my head ever since. Emily poured her heart out, apologizing for everything she had done. She admitted that leaving me for Ryan was the biggest mistake of her life. Apparently, their perfect relationship fell apart when Ryan cheated on her too. She said she'd been thinking about me for months, but felt too ashamed to reach out. Now, she says she's ready to make things right and wants to start fresh because she realizes what we had was real. Hearing her say all of this stirred up emotions I wasn't prepared for. On one hand, a part of me still cares for her. You don't spend 3 years with someone and not have those feelings linger. But on the other hand, the betrayal is still fresh in my mind. How could I ever trust her again? She's asked to meet up and talk, but I haven't made a decision yet. A part of me wants to hear her out, maybe for closure or to see if she's genuinely changed. But another part of me feels like reopening that door is a recipe for disaster. I've worked so hard to move on. Do I really want to risk undoing all that progress? So now I'm left in this emotional limbo, unsure of what to do. Should I give her a chance to explain herself? Or should I close the door on this chapter of my life for good? Second story. My sister stole the name I cherished for my daughter, used it for her dog, and now my family says I'm ruining her wedding by refusing to attend. But there's a shocking twist you won't believe. There's nothing quite like the joy of finally seeing a lifelong dream come true, only to have someone close to you dismiss it like it's insignificant. That's where I find myself right now, 6 months pregnant with a baby girl, thrilled after years of heartbreak, but stuck in a storm I didn't create. My husband, Liam, and I, both in our 30s, have been through so much to get to this point. Fertility treatments, emotional setbacks, and a devastating miscarriage last year left us questioning if parenthood was even in the cards. So to say this pregnancy is precious to us would be an understatement. I'm 6 months along with a healthy baby girl, and every little kick reminds me how far we've come. When I was a teenager, I fell in love with the name Aria. It wasn't just a pretty name to me, it carried a deep emotional connection. My grandmother, who meant the world to me, was named Marion, and choosing Aria felt like the perfect way to honor her memory. Over the years, I talked about it so often that everyone in my family knew it was the name I'd always wanted for my daughter. Liam loved it too, so when we found out how we were having a girl, it felt like everything was falling into place. Then came my sister, Clara. Clara is 2 years younger than me and has always had a knack for doing things her own way. 6 months ago, she got a golden retriever puppy, something she'd been excited about for ages. When she introduced the dog to our family, I was taken aback. "This is Aria," she said with a grin. At first, I genuinely thought she was joking. Surely she wouldn't use the name I'd been dreaming about for years. So I laughed and said, "Come on, Clara, you know that's the name I've always wanted for my baby." But Clara just shrugged and replied, "It's a name, not a trademark. I liked it, so I used it." My stomach dropped. I didn't want to make a scene, so I swallowed my feelings and tried to move on. But as the months went by, it became harder and harder to ignore. Soon, Aria became synonymous with her dog. Every family conversation, every gathering, it was all about the dog, and the association began to sting. The breaking point came at my baby shower. While chatting with some relatives about my baby's nursery, I mentioned that we'd settled on the name Aria. My aunt laughed out loud. "You're not actually naming your baby after Clara's dog, are you?" she said, smirking. I was mortified. That name, which had always been so special to me, was now reduced to a punchline. The weight of that humiliation settled in, and I realized I couldn't keep pretending everything was fine. I pulled Clara aside privately and tried to explain how much the name meant to me. I poured my heart out about how it wasn't just a name, it was a connection to our late grandmother, a symbol of hope after our struggles, and something I'd held close to my heart for years. Clara's reaction? She rolled her eyes and said, "You're seriously still mad about this? It's a dog's name. Get over it." When I told her that I was still naming my daughter Aria, despite how awkward it now felt, she smirked and said, "Awkward for you, not for me." Her dismissive attitude was like a slap in the face. Now, Clara's wedding is just around the corner. I'm supposed to be her maid of honor, but every time I think about standing up there beside her celebrating her day, I feel a pit in my stomach. How can I celebrate someone who has so little respect for me and my feelings? Last week, I finally told her I wasn't sure I could attend the wedding. I was honest about how hurt I felt and how difficult it was to move past her dismissiveness. Clara exploded. She called me selfish, accused me of ruining her wedding over something as stupid as a name, and insisted I was overreacting. "Nobody cares except you," she snapped. My parents quickly jumped to her defense, accusing me of being petty and too hormonal to see reason. They said I needed to get over it because family is more important than a name. The only person firmly in my corner is Liam. He's furious at how dismissive Clara has been and believes I shouldn't have to set aside my feelings just to keep the peace. But the pressure from my parents and the guilt of potentially causing a rift in the family weigh heavily on me. I'm torn. On one hand, I know skipping the wedding is a big deal, and I don't want to do something I can't take back. On the other hand, how do I stand up there and pretend everything's okay when my sister has made it abundantly clear that my feelings mean nothing to her? Am I the one in the wrong here? Would skipping her wedding make me the villain? Or am I justified in taking a stand for myself and my future daughter? Third story. My ex left our 6-year-old daughter alone twice at the movie theater and at his girlfriend's house. Now I'm struggling to confront him without causing a huge fight. I need some advice on how to approach a really delicate situation. My ex and we've been separated for almost 3 years now and divorced for just under a year. We share a beautiful 6-year-old daughter who means the world to both of us. But like many couples who go through a messy breakup, our co-parenting situation hasn't always been easy. There have been some really tough times where we could barely stand each other, and every conversation turned into an argument. But recently, things have been going much better. We both agreed that our daughter's well-being came first, and we've been working on better communication for her sake. Our daughter has been in therapy for a while now, and I won't lie, it's been a real learning curve for both of us. We've all tried to adjust and improve things, and I thought we were making progress. I genuinely felt that we were in a good place, at least for now. We had our rough patches, but recently, I started to feel like we were on the same page when it came to raising her, even if we weren't perfect. So, fast forward to this week. My week with our daughter. I picked her up from school and asked her how her day was and what she did over the weekend. She got really excited to tell me about the new Moana movie she saw with her dad, his girlfriend, and their friend's daughter. At first, I was just listening, smiling, and happy that she had a good time. She went on about the movie, how much she liked it, and how fun it was. Then, she mentioned something that stopped me cold in my tracks. She casually said, "You know, Daddy and girlfriend's name left me and best friend's daughter alone at the movie theater twice." I thought maybe I misheard her, so I asked her to explain. She told me, well, first, they left us sitting in the theater by ourselves while they went to get drinks and snacks. They came back, but then had to go get the glasses for the 3D movie, so they left again. I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. I didn't know what to say at first, so I kept listening. She went on to tell me that after the movie, they went back to the girlfriend's house, and that's where it happened again. She said, "Daddy and girlfriend's name left us at the house alone while they went to drop something off. She told us to not open the door for strangers, and we just had to wait." My heart sank. At that point, I was speechless. I mean, how could he do that? How could he leave 2 young girls alone like that in a movie theater with strangers all around? What if something had happened? I was furious, but I didn't want to lash out without thinking this through first. I knew that if I confronted him right then and there, I'd just be angry and might say things I'd regret. So I called my best friend, and she was just as shocked and upset as I was. She kept saying, "How could they leave them alone like that? A movie theater full of people with so many emergency exits? What if something went wrong?" Honestly, I don't even know how to approach him about this. If I bring it up, I know it'll turn into an argument. But I also can't just ignore it. Our daughter was left alone, not once but twice, and that's not okay. I'm at a loss for how to handle this, because I want to make sure he understands how serious this is, without it turning into a huge fight. I don't want to damage the progress we've made in our co-parenting relationship, but I also don't want him thinking this is something that can slide. What should I do? How do I bring this up without it blowing up into something worse? I just want to make sure my daughter is safe and that he understands the consequences of leaving her in that situation. Any advice would be greatly appreciated.